Episode 2 opens with that scene from the past, where we see Soo-bin and Yi-jae, who are making a zombie film together with the school kids. At this point, Yi-jae also tells Soo-bin, "You shoot a scene too, because your shooting has a different vibe to it." Soo-bin then does exactly that. However, while he's doing it, he's watching Yi-jae, and he says to himself, "I want to know everything about you, what kind of world yours is, what you see in it, what you like." But just then, a security guard comes along and spots them. In the next scene, we see the teacher punishing all the children and saying, "Why were you making a film over there? You ought to be paying attention to your studies." But EJ starts to explain, "I'm perfect at this work. I want to become a film director." But the teacher hits her. She won't listen to her. All these scenes are from 2011. In the next scene, we see that the two of them had come to the market. Here too, they shoot a number of things. Soo-bin has some food packed up for his mother. EJ says, "You seem like a good son to me." Soo-bin says, "What about you?" EJ had said, "I don't have a good relationship with my mother." In the next scene, we see her bring him to her mother's restaurant, and she sneaks him into her room, which is underground. The two of them watch the zombie movie together, the one they had made earlier. EJ tells him, "You shot everything well. This is really good." Now Soo-bin starts telling her, "I don't want to become a doctor. I'm going to become a film director like you. I've made up my mind." EJ tells him, "None of this is going to be easy. It can take time." But Soo-bin had said, "I have no problem with that. I didn't like films before, but because of you, I started to like them. The world you have is very warm and funny." But EJ says, "It's the zombie world, isn't it?" Soo-bin says, "Whatever world it is, it has those things in it." At night, we see EJ in her room, and she starts watching a lot of videos of Soo-bin. In the next scene, we see Soo-bin running to catch a bus, and he does catch it, because we learn that EJ is at a Bunam Youth Film Festival, where she wins the grand prize. She's up on the stage. She says, "My mother once told me that I should become something or other, but to tell the truth, I don't want to become just anything. I only want to become a film director, because that is what I was born for." They ask, "Is there any member of your family here who could congratulate you?" She says nothing. But just then we see Soo-bin come in carrying flowers, and he congratulates her. In the next scene, we see the two of them at the beach, where EJ says, "I have a secret. This is why I want to become a film director." Then she shows him the prize. EJ says, "When I was in 6th grade, I won my first prize, and I made up my mind that I would become a film director." Soo-bin says, "All right, but how is that a secret?" EJ says, "Look how big my dream is, but so far only a little bit of the work has been done." Soo-bin says, "Whatever things there are, they all start from small work. Just look at this. My feelings for you turned into a dream." She goes shy and tells him, "Come on, let's make a film together." He nods, and he picks her up. Now the two of them have fun in the water. At night, we see Soo-bin arrive near his house. He sees his father in front of him, who is hitting his driver. Without knowing why, he goes inside the house. His father has his bag. He was going to pick the bag up, but his father tells him, "There's a rule here. There must be no room for any mistake in this house. I won't tolerate it." Yi-jae comes home too, but she sees her video cassettes lying out in front. Her mother has thrown them outside, and people are picking through them. She shouts and says, "Those are mine!" She says to her mother, "Why are you doing this?" Her mother had said, "This is all garbage, throw it out." But EJ says, "Don't do that." She shows her, "Today I won a prize of 1 million won. I've never asked you for anything. I haven't asked for money. I haven't said, send me abroad to study. At the very least, let me do what I want to do." Her mother had said, "Fine. You can't keep these cassettes out here. Take them into your own room." At night, Soo-bin was walking along, but he sees Yi-jae in front of him, and she was crying. He goes up to her and asks, "What happened?" But she doesn't tell him. Now the two of them had come down to the beach, where EJ says to him, "Have you heard the story of the fox and the grapes?" The fox had spotted the grapes. It tried to get them, but then it said that they're sour, and it walked away. Soo-bin says, "It could well be true that they were sour." Yi-jae says, "Whatever the case, it should at least have tried, shouldn't it? Now take me. Whatever I want, I go and get it, even if I have to die for it." Soo-bin says, "Leave out the dying part. If you ever need anything, just call me. I'll come running for you. I'll be your shoulder." In the next scene, we see her bring him to her house. The two of them were watching videos together. But now Yi-jae says, "Something is missing in this, and that something is romance." She starts telling Soo-bin, "We'll have to put romance into it. But before we do that, come on, let's try it out. You kiss me." She leans in to kiss him, but Soo-bin says, "I can't do that, because I'm your senior." Yi-jae says, "So what? I'm your senior too, aren't I?" Soo-bin starts saying, Afterward, I won't be able to control myself. Yi-jae says, "What do you mean control?" However, he then says, "When the two of us get into film school, that's when I'll kiss you." Yi-jae, though, had said, "That's no problem for me because this is going to be our first kiss." In the next scene, several more of their scenes are shown, where the two of them were working on a film and they finished the script. We come to the present, where Yi-jae is on her show and had gotten herself up as a farmer. But just then she learns that Soo-bin has turned up here. There are flowers in Soo-bin's hand which he gives to her. Yi-jae says to him, "What are you doing here?" She says to producer Kang, "Why have you brought him here?" Producer Kang had said, "He's a guest. He wants to give her flowers." Yi-jae says to him, "You come here to become a farmer?" Soo-bin says, "Well, that depends on you." Yi-jae walks off. In the next scene, she talks with her colleague. The colleague brings up Soo-bin's first love and says, "Who could it be? Do you know anything about it?" But she says no. Yet after a little while she says, "It's all online too, you can look it up." The colleague says, "But you just said you don't know." She goes quiet. The girls start taking photos with Soo-bin. Yi-jae is right there watching all of it, but with different eyes. In the next scene she's with Soo-bin, and she runs a number of questions past him, the ones that will be put to him during the show, such as, "Why did you hide your name, Soo-bin?" And the main question of all, "Why have you come here?" Soo-bin comes up to Yi-jae and says, "To see you." Yi-jae says, "Where did all this start?" Soo-bin says, "You were talking to Yugun on the phone and I overheard what you said. By the way, you look nervous." But she denies it. But Soo-bin says, "You are. Every time. You keep chewing on your lip with your teeth. If this keeps up, it'll start bleeding." Then he starts to leave. Yi-jae calmly tells him, "If you do anything wrong, just watch. I'll kill you." But it makes no difference to him. In the next scene, we see the show start. Yi-jae first talks to her fans. Then she introduces Soo-bin. There are a number of questions for him, and Soo-bin answers them all. She talks about his film, the one for which he was recently given an award. Then she asks him, "Why have you come to Korea?" Soo-bin had said, "I want to make a romance movie whose title is Gyeongseong Love Song." After hearing this, Yi-jae is left in shock. In the next scene, we see Yugun, who is practicing his acting. He goes around to every agency. He delivers his profile. He comes to another agency. Kang is there in front of him. He spots him and recognizes him. Then he tells him who he is and that this is his profile. Kang says, "I know you. We worked together once. At that time, your CEO cheated us all and the company shut down." Kang starts insulting him and says, "Give up this line of work. Nothing is going to come of it for you. I can tell just by looking at someone how far they'll go. But you don't have that thing." Kang then left. We see Hana upstairs, who was watching all of this. Hana then comes inside to eat. We see her mother, whose name is Soo-hee. Kang joins them too. Hana wants to eat, but Soo-hee stops her and says, "Leave it, you'll get fat. Last time that dress didn't fit you. This time you'll be put in that dress again, and I don't want that scene to be created all over again." Hana says, "Then why not do one thing? Just have the dress changed." But her mother refuses. Hana tells Kang, "I want to go to the salon. Come with me, quickly." In the next scene, we see Hana arrive for a film promotion. The actor Sang-yeon is with her too. The two of them were talking to the media. Sang-yeon says, "I don't think Hana has ever dated anyone up to now, because after all, she debuted 20 years ago, and there have never been any dating rumors about her." But Hana says, "I've dated plenty of people. By the way, do you like me?" Sang-yeon says nothing. However, when he gets to the parking area, he shouts at his manager and says, "Who does she think she is? How can she say something like that to me? She's nothing without her mother. She's her mother's little girl." But just then we see that Hana is right nearby, and she starts talking to her mother. She says loudly, "Sang-yeon here is calling me your little girl." Sang-yeon panics. He comes over to Hana, but Hana shows him that it wasn't a call at all. She says, "I was only joking." Sang-yeon runs at her to hit her, but he can't do anything. In the next scene, we see that they were going out to shoot more with Soo-bin. Soo-bin and Yi-jae are in a car, where Soo-bin tells Yi-jae the story of the fox and the grapes, the one Yi-jae had told him once. Soo-bin says, "The fox said that the grapes are sour, and it walked away." Yi-jae says, "Well, they could have been sour, couldn't they?" But Soo-bin says, "Whatever the case, it should at least have tried, shouldn't it?" Yi-jae starts arguing back like a child. Would the fox have used a ladder? And even if it had, the ladder had been knocked over there. Its time was wasted and it walked away. It had no option. But Soo-bin says, it could have asked its friend for help. Yi-jae then recalls that Soo-bin had once said, "I'll help you. I'll come running for you." Yi-jae then says, its friend betrayed it, and it never got to eat those grapes. Soo-bin starts to say, "I didn't steal anything." She hushes him and says, "The mic is on. Be quiet." Kang sees the two of them carrying on and says to Yi-jae, "Why are you holding him by the collar?" Yi-jae says, "It's just that his button has come off." Kang says, "Fine. Sew it back on for him later." In the next scene, we see her sewing a button onto the shirt while he watches her. Yi-jae tells him, "As for the script, I'll sell it to you for this much money. After that, you leave. Anyway, the only thing you care about is its ending, isn't it?" But Soo-bin refuses and says, "I only want to work with you. If you don't want to do that, then that script is nothing but blank pages to me." Yi-jae says, "Fine." Soo-bin then says to her, "If you feel that I stole your dream from you, then there's one thing we can do. I can give that dream back to you. And the boyfriend you had, I'll give him back too." He comes up close to her and says, "How should I go about giving him back?" He was going in to kiss her and he says, "We're not in high school anymore." But Yi-jae doesn't want this. She takes the flowers and hits him with them and says, "You bastard." Then she walks off. Now we see that scene from the past where Yi-jae comes to Soo-bin's house again and again. She calls out to him, but Soo-bin doesn't come out. It doesn't happen just once. It happens many times. 10 or 15 days went by like this. Yi-jae had given up and starts to leave. But Soo-bin comes out to her in the rain. He stops her. He gives her an umbrella and says, "I can't come to school anymore." Yi-jae teases him and says, "Why? There's an exam tomorrow, isn't there?" But Soo-bin says, "I'm not going to become a film director. I want to become a doctor, and I'm going to America." But Yi-jae says, "You're lying." She shows him the script and says, "The two of us wrote this together, but its ending is still left. The two of us will work on it," but he refuses. Yi-jae hands him the script and says, "Fine, you have to choose. What will you do? I'll be waiting for you." Then she runs off like that. In the next scene, we see her on a bus. She's about to leave for Seoul. She was waiting for Soo-bin, but he doesn't come. Then she gets down off the bus. She thinks Soo-bin must have gotten himself ready to leave for America. She runs off from there to go and meet him, but her hairband falls to the ground. She comes back to pick it up, but just then the accident happened. In the next scene, we see her going through surgery. Her family is outside. The family had thought she couldn't survive, that she had died. Then they even come into her. But Yi-jae is all right. She looks at her family and says, "Why are you all dressed like that? I'm still alive." Then she comes in for rehab. She practices hard and becomes able to walk again. We come to the present scene, where we see Yi-jae's family watching her show. But they see that Soo-bin is on it too. They say to themselves, "What is Soo-bin doing here?" On the other side, we see Hana and her mother. They too were watching the show, and there Soo-hee says, "What is Soo-bin doing on this show?" Meanwhile, we see Yi-jae, who is at a restaurant with Yoo-gon. She tells him what Soo-bin said to her. Yoo-gon says, "All right, you should do it. He's giving that dream back." But Yi-jae had said, "I don't want to." But Yoo-gon says, "You're not miserable. You're amazing. You should value your own self. You did say you wanted to become a film director, didn't you?" But she had said, "That's not my dream." We moved to the TV station, where everyone was watching Soo-bin and Yi-jae's show, which had gone viral. There we see Yi-jae. Her friend comes over to her and says, "I think you know Soo-bin. He must be your first love." But Yi-jae denies it. However, when she keeps pressing, Yi-jae had said, "Keep quiet. Nobody should find out about this." The friend also says to her, "So this turned into a first love reunion. Did he say things like, 'I missed you, I like you'?" Kang calls Yi-jae. In the next scene, we see her come to meet him. Kang says to her, "Do you know Soo-bin?" But she denies it. Kang says, "I saw how the two of you talked for 2 hours in the edit room." Then she tells him, "Yes, I've known him since our school days." Kang says, "All right, then that's good news. Bring him onto the show before some other agency takes him away." But Yi-jae says, "I can't do that." But then Kang says that if she does it, she'll have their own slot. She'll have to bring him. And if she fails at this, then don't come back to Seoul. He's in Bunam Village right now. In the next scene, we see Yi-jae arrive in Bunam Village. She's outside Soo-bin's house. She wants to knock on the door. At first, she doesn't do it and starts heading back. She gathers her courage. She comes again. She knocks on the door. She comes inside. But Soo-bin is right there in front of her, and he accidentally throws water on her. And with that, episode 2 comes to an end.